My daughter banned me from her wedding, so I gave her a lesson she'll never forget. I spent years saving every penny for my daughter's wedding. I wanted her to have the best day of her life. No expenses spared. I was ready to pay for the venue, the catering, the dress, everything. Then, one day she called me. "Dad, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come to the wedding." At first I thought it was a joke, but no, her mother didn't want me there. And instead of standing up for me, my daughter sided with her. She thought I would just accept it, that I would still hand over the money, smile, and let her throw me away like I was nothing. She had no idea who she was messing with, so I did something she never saw coming. And when the wedding day arrived, she regretted every single choice she made. Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now, let's start the video. For years, I had been saving for my daughter, Lily's wedding. It wasn't just about the money. It was about giving her the perfect day, making sure she had everything she ever dreamed of. When her mother, Laura, and I divorced, things were tense, but I never let that affect my relationship with Lily. I was always there. Every school event, every birthday, every holiday. I never missed a moment. Even when Laura remarried and tried to push me to the side, I made sure Lily always knew I was there for her. So, when she got engaged, I was thrilled. I sat her down and told her I would cover the venue, the dress, the catering, everything. Whatever she wanted, she would have. She cried and hugged me. "Thank you, Dad. You have no idea how much this means to me." And that moment meant everything. I was so proud, so happy to be able to do this for her. Then one evening, I got a call from Lily. Her voice sounded off. "Dad," she said hesitantly, "I need to talk to you about something." I frowned, already feeling a twist in my gut. "Of course, sweetheart. What's wrong?" She took a deep breath. "Mom doesn't think it's a good idea for you to be at the wedding." I froze. "What?" She hesitated. She thinks it would be awkward. She doesn't want any tension on my big day. And, well, I don't want to make her uncomfortable." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Lily," I said slowly, "I'm your father. I've been saving for this wedding for years, and now you're telling me I'm not even invited?" She sighed. "It's not like that, Dad. It's just, Mom's my family too. I don't want to upset her." I clenched my jaw. So that was it. Laura had always been good at manipulating Lily, making her feel guilty, making her choose. And now she was winning. I sat there, gripping the phone, my heart pounding. "Let me ask you something, Lily," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Who's paying for the wedding?" There was a long silence. Finally she whispered, "You are." "Not your mother?" "No." I laughed bitterly. "So let me get this straight. Your mother, the one who doesn't want me there, isn't contributing a single dime, but she gets to decide who's invited." "Dad," she said, her voice frustrated now, "this isn't about money." "Really?" I shot back. "Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like I'm good enough to pay for the wedding, but not good enough to be at it." She groaned. "You're making this difficult. Can't you just be the bigger person?" The bigger person. That's what they always tell you when they want you to accept being treated like garbage. I took a deep breath. "Okay, Lily, if that's what you want, I won't come." She let out a relieved sigh. "Thank you, Dad. I knew you'd understand." Oh, I understood perfectly. She thought I would accept it, that I would still pay, still be happy for her, still hand over my money while she pretended I didn't exist. She had no idea what was coming, because this wedding, it was about to become a complete disaster. The moment I hung up the phone, I sat there in stunned silence. I had done everything for Lily, raised her, supported her, sacrificed for her. And now she was willing to throw me away just to keep her mother happy? I wasn't angry, I was furious. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. They were using me. Laura wanted me out of the picture, but still wanted my money to pay for the wedding. And Lily, she was too afraid to stand up to her mother, so she was going along with it. Well, that wasn't happening. I wasn't about to fund my own exclusion, so I picked up the phone and called Lily back. She answered almost immediately, her voice still light, like she thought everything was settled. "Hey, Dad, what's up?" I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "Lily, I've been thinking. Since I won't be attending the wedding, I don't see why I should be paying for it. Dead silence. Then, after a moment, she let out a nervous laugh. Dad, come on. You already said you'd cover everything? I leaned back in my chair. And you already said I wasn't invited, so I guess we both changed our minds. She stammered. But Dad, we've already booked everything. Then I suggest you start calling vendors and figuring out a new plan, I said calmly. Because my money is staying with me. Dad, she said, her voice panicked now, please, don't do this. The wedding is in a month. We can't afford all of this without you. I sighed dramatically. Well, Lily, you and your mother seemed to think I wasn't important enough to be there. So, why don't you ask her to pay? She let out a shaky breath. Mom doesn't have that kind of money. Not my problem, I said simply. Her voice was tight with frustration. Dad, this is so unfair. I was hoping you'd be the bigger person. There it was again, that phrase, that expectation that I was supposed to accept whatever treatment was thrown at me and still play my role. I had spent my entire life being the bigger person. Not this time. I kept my voice steady. You made your choice, Lily, and now you get to live with it. She tried to argue, but I hung up. And as I sat there, staring at my phone, I felt no guilt. They thought they could push me aside while still benefiting from my hard work. Not a chance. This wedding, it wasn't happening. And soon they were going to realize that, the hard way. I expected Lily to call back immediately, to beg, to try and manipulate me into changing my mind. But instead, there was silence. At first I thought maybe she was processing what had just happened. But then, a few hours later, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered, already knowing exactly who it was. Laura. Seriously? She hissed the moment I picked up. You're really pulling the funding? I smirked. I don't see why I should pay for an event I'm not even allowed to attend. She let out an exaggerated sigh, like I was the unreasonable one. You're being selfish, you know that? This is about Lily's happiness, not your ego. I laughed. Actually laughed. My ego? I repeated. Laura, you're the one who made sure I wouldn't be at my own daughter's wedding. And now that you realize you can't afford it without me, you're panicking. She scoffed. Oh, don't be dramatic. You should want to do this for your daughter. I leaned back in my chair, keeping my voice calm. Tell me something, Laura. If I had been invited, would you still be calling me right now, demanding I pay? She went silent. Because we both knew the answer. She had never planned on asking me for money, not until she realized she needed it. She thought I would be so desperate to keep the peace that I'd just handed over, even after they had thrown me aside. But she had severely miscalculated. I guess you'll have to figure something else out, I said smoothly. Or you can cancel the wedding. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. Wait, she started, but I hung up. No more conversations, no more guilt trips. They had made their choice. Now, they could deal with the consequences. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages. Lily, Laura, even some extended family. Lily, Dad, please. We can figure something out. Laura, you're ruining this for her. Just send the money and stop being so petty. My aunt, I don't know what happened, but Lily is really upset. Can't you just do this for her? They all expected me to cave. They thought I'd feel guilty, that I'd give in and pay just to make the problem disappear. But they were about to find out just how wrong they were. A few days later, I got a text from Lily that made me smile. Lily, Dad, the venue canceled our booking. Mom doesn't have the money to pay for it. There it was. Reality was finally sinking in, and it was only going to get worse from here. I read Lily's message and set my phone down, feeling nothing but satisfaction. This was exactly what needed to happen. She and Laura had made their choice, and now they were facing the consequences. A few hours later, my phone rang again. This time, it was Lily. I considered ignoring it, but part of me was curious to hear what excuse she'd come up with. Dad, she said the moment I answered, her voice tight. Please, can we talk? I leaned back in my chair. Talking now, are we? Funny, I don't recall getting a conversation when you decided to uninvite me from your wedding. She sighed heavily, like I was the unreasonable one. Dad, you're making this more difficult than it needs to be. I let out a short laugh. No, Lily, you and your mother did that. I just removed myself from the situation. There was silence on the other end. I could practically hear her struggling to find the right words, to find a way to manipulate me into changing my mind. "We can't afford the wedding without you," she finally admitted. "Mom was supposed to figure something out, but she doesn't have the money." I wasn't surprised. Laura had always been terrible with finances, constantly living beyond her means, acting like she had more money than she actually did. She had probably assumed I'd still pay no matter what. "Well," I said, "I guess you'll have to scale back then." "Dad," she whined, and I could hear the frustration creeping into her voice. "I already told everyone about the wedding. The invitations are out. People have booked flights. I can't just cancel everything." I shrugged, even though she couldn't see me. "Not my problem." "Come on," she snapped. "You're really gonna let my wedding fall apart just because you're holding a grudge?" There it was. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about a grudge. This was about respect. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm. "Lily, let me ask you something. If I had called you a month ago and told you I was struggling financially and needed help, what would you have said?" She hesitated. I don't know." "Exactly," I said. "Because it never even crossed your mind that I might need something in return. You assumed I would always be there, no matter how you treated me. But that's not how life works, sweetheart." She was quiet for a long time before she whispered, "So that's it? You're just done?" I exhaled slowly. "You made your choice, Lily. Now you get to live with it." I hung up before she could say anything else. This was the hardest lesson she would ever learn, and it wasn't over yet. Lily didn't call back after that, and for a few days, I enjoyed the silence, but I knew it wouldn't last. Sure enough, by the end of the week, my phone rang again. This time, it was Laura. I let it go to voicemail, expecting another angry rant, but when I checked the message, her tone was different. "Listen," she said, clearly trying to sound reasonable. "I know you're upset, but this is still Lily's wedding. She's your daughter. Are you really going to let your issues with me ruin her big day? Call me back and let's talk like adults." I smirked. Like adults. That was rich coming from the woman who had convinced our daughter to uninvite me from my own child's wedding. But I was curious, so I called her back. "What do you want, Laura?" I asked, keeping my tone flat. "Can we just work something out?" she asked, her voice strained. "The venue already canceled, and the caterer's pulling out next week unless we pay the deposit. Lily is heartbroken." I chuckled. "So, now she's heartbroken. Not when she called me and told me I wasn't welcome, but now that she's watching her dream wedding fall apart." Laura sighed loudly. "You're being childish." There it was. The real Laura. The one who had always tried to control the narrative, always tried to make me the bad guy when she didn't get her way. "I'm being childish," I repeated. "Laura, let me be clear. This isn't about revenge. This is about respect. You and Lily made it perfectly clear that I wasn't part of this wedding. So, why exactly should I fund something I'm not welcome at?" She was quiet for a moment before snapping. "Because she's your daughter, that's why." "No, Laura," I said calmly. "She's our daughter. But you made sure she only chose one parent for this wedding, and now you can deal with it. I'm done." I hung up, and this time, I felt no guilt. Let's see how they handled this wedding without me. The next week was pure chaos. First, the florist pulled out, then the DJ, then the decorator. I knew this because word spreads fast in a small town, and apparently, people were catching on to what had happened. Lily had expected a lavish, fully funded event, but without my money, things were falling apart. Then, finally, it happened. Lily showed up at my house. She knocked hesitantly, looking nothing like the confident, excited bride-to-be I had spoken to weeks ago. She looked tired, worn down. "Dad," she said softly when I opened the door. I didn't say anything, just crossed my arms and waited. She swallowed hard. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside, letting her in. She stood awkwardly in the living room, glancing around like she was expecting things to be different. Like she realized for the first time how much she had taken this home for granted. Finally, she sighed and turned to face me. "I messed up." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" She swallowed again. I shouldn't have listened to Mom. I shouldn't have uninvited you. It was wrong. And now, everything is falling apart and She hesitated before whispering, "And I miss you?" I felt my chest tighten. This was what I had been waiting for, not just an apology, but realization, understanding, growth. I took a deep breath. "Lily, I will always love you, but you made a choice. You chose your mother's feelings over mine. And I need to know, are you apologizing because you regret what you did, or just because the wedding is falling apart?" She looked at me, tears welling in her eyes. "Because I miss my dad, and because I was wrong." I searched her face, looking for any sign of manipulation. But for the first time in weeks, I saw the little girl I had raised, the one who used to run to me when she scraped her knee, the one who always asked me for bedtime stories. And just like that, I knew she meant it. "Come here," I said, opening my arms. She collapsed into my chest, sobbing. And in that moment, I knew. I had my daughter back. Lily clung to me like she was a little girl again, sobbing into my chest. I felt her shoulders shake, and for the first time in weeks, I saw the daughter I had raised. Not the entitled bride who had tossed me aside, but the child who used to hold my hand whenever she was scared. "I'm so sorry, Dad," she whispered, her voice broken. "I should have never done that to you. I should have stood up to Mom. I was just so excited about everything, and she made you think that I didn't matter," I finished for her. She winced, but she didn't deny it. I sighed, pulling away slightly so I could look her in the eyes. "Lily, I need you to understand something. I love you, and I always will, but love doesn't mean accepting being treated like an afterthought. Do you understand that?" She nodded quickly, sniffling. "I do. I was selfish. I let Mom push you out because I thought it would make things easier, but all it did was hurt the one person who's always been there for me." I wiped a tear off her cheek and took a deep breath. "So what now?" She hesitated. "I want to fix this. I know I don't deserve your help, but I need you, Dad. Not just for the wedding, but for everything. I don't want to lose you over this." For the first time since she had called to uninvite me, I felt genuine hope, but I wasn't going to just give in immediately. "You need to set things right, Lily," I said firmly. "Not just with me, but with everyone. That means telling people what actually happened. That means standing up to your mother. And most importantly, that means never letting anyone make you choose between me and them again." She nodded vigorously, determination replacing her guilt. "I will. I promise." I studied her face, searching for any signs of manipulation. But there was none. She was telling the truth. I took a deep breath. "Then let's see what we can do about this wedding." The next day, Lily made things right. She called all the vendors that had backed out, explaining that she had made a mistake and that the person who was funding the wedding, me, was, in fact, back in the picture. She even posted online, clearing the air. "Lily, I want to publicly apologize to my dad. I made a huge mistake letting someone else influence my decisions, and I regret it more than anything. He has always been there for me, and I never should have taken him for granted. Dad, I love you, and I'm so sorry." It wasn't just for show. I could tell she meant every word. Of course Laura wasn't happy. She called ranting and raving, furious that Lily had turned on her. But for the first time in her life, Lily stood her ground. "Mom," she said, her voice calm but firm, "this is my wedding, and if you can't respect my father, then maybe you shouldn't come at all." That shut Laura up real quick, and me? For the first time in weeks, I finally felt at peace. When the big day finally arrived, I was exactly where I was meant to be, standing next to my daughter, walking her down the aisle. Laura was there, but she kept her distance, knowing full well that she had lost. She had tried to erase me, to push me out of my own daughter's life, and in the end, she was the one left standing on the sidelines. As I handed Lily over to her soon-to-be husband, she squeezed my hand and whispered, "Thank you, Dad, for everything." And at that moment, I knew I had won, not because of money, not because of revenge, but because my daughter had finally seen the truth. Some people think they can pick and choose when family matters. Lily thought I would always be there, no matter how she treated me. But love isn't about being a doormat. It's about mutual respect. She learned that the hard way, and now she will never make that mistake again. Have you ever had someone take you for granted, only to realize their mistake too late? Drop your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them.